Welcome back to the Hill of Roses, where we come once again to celebrate the best contributors to our independent policy movement for progress to bring power to people like you. Today on the program, we're going to get to talk to Matt Skidmore of The Matt Skidmore Show. You may know him from his recounting of the entire Yang presidential run in 2020 as a frequent live streamer and documentarian of his campaign, as well as his continued advocacy for the Yang Gang movement and their down ballot candidates after the campaign as well. In this episode, we got to talk to Matt about his journey into politics and what it was like trying to document the Yang campaign, some of his favorite moments from the campaign, how he defines his own politics in relation to Yang, as well as other candidates. And we also got to talk about what do we as a Yang Gang movement need to be doing? What are some of our strengths and weaknesses from a year ago? And what are some of the biggest activities we need to focus on to be properly organized to continue growing in the years to come? So this was a really exciting conversation. Frankly, I always love getting to talk to Matt because I find it's very interesting when you get to talk to people who are trying to get very actively engaged, trying to focus tactically on how to do it, and have a political ideology that is a little bit more heterodox, like a lot of Americans out there. So I know I enjoyed today's conversation, and I know you are too. So let's get into it. Okay, we're here with Matt Skidmore from the Matt Skidmore Show. You might have known him in the past from the Zach and Matt Show, but it's been a while since we got to last talk with him on his program, and it's so great to be able to have him on. Matt, welcome to the program.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me on today. Excited to talk with you.
You're very welcome. And so, Matt, in this first part of our conversation, I really wanted to just focus in on yourself. I think a lot of people, when they get to hear you, they get to know a lot about Andrew Yang, but I think a lot of people want to know a little bit more about Matt Skidmore. And so my first question to you, Matt, is just when did you first kind of get yourself involved in politics? Was Andrew Yang that first spark that said, I want to get interested in politics a little bit? Or were there anything beforehand that kind of led you into that space?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. Andrew definitely wasn't my first foray into politics, but he was probably like the first politician or somebody in politics that I actually looked up at and was like, this is my guy. Like, this is who I want to follow. I agree with this man. But like going back, I mean, I'm admittedly very young, 21 years old, so I can only say I've been into politics so long. But I always kind of had a general interest in it, like going back to when I was like 12, 13 years old. I remember in high school, I took AP government, and ironically, that's like the best class I ever did in high school. Like I nailed the test, and I don't think that was necessarily because of anything besides the fact it was just something I actually found genuinely interesting, which you don't see that too often in school these days, unfortunately, with the current education system. But I would say like my views, like at a younger age, they're very like you have zero life experience. I still don't have any life experience, so like my views have been kind of changing a bit over time. And I'd say like when I first started getting like more seriously into politics, it was actually when Trump first got elected, because I remember during the primary and just being like, what the hell is going on? Like, how does Donald Trump have like he's winning state after state after state? And then the Yang though is when I of course went like all in and did things I never thought I would ever do, like going in Iowa and knocking on doors and all sorts of crazy crap.
So, Matt, could you tell me, like, obviously it must have been a leap of faith to kind of go on the road tour with them. What was the first moment you got to actually film in person of an Andrew Yang event? And what inspired you to go follow him around the country and try and document his campaign?
Yeah, so the first event that I ever saw Andrew was his rally in Philadelphia last September. And I went with Zach, who is formerly part of the Zach and Matt Show, but then he left me, he ditched me. I'm just kidding. He's busy with college, and I decided to change the channel name because I'm tired of waiting for him to return. But I went with him, my older brother, because he also happened to be like Yang Gang, and it was just really cool. We went with our cameras, we recorded everything. I just remember like it felt so like I don't know how to quite describe it. Like it felt so cool to be with this huge group of people that you had never met before that are all like really passionate about this random Asian dude running for president. And I remember like riding up and we're parking and I see people have their cars like decked out, like their windows. It's like YANG. And I'm just like, wow, this is cool. And it was an interesting experience. It was my first ever political event. And we got some good footage and uploaded it. And I remember like my next event after that was, I think I went to Las Vegas and like, was it early November last year, maybe? And I dragged Zach along with me. Zach's kind of less like wanted to go out and like get in the thick of it than I did, most likely because of his schoolwork and stuff.
Sure.
But I was all in, and I enjoyed that like a lot. And that was like my first time ever actually live streaming, because we used to just do like set footage, and I found that live streaming so much fun because you get to like you gotta bring, it's almost like you gotta like if Andrew's having like an event with like 100 people and I have a stream with a few hundred people or even way more, like it's almost like I'm bringing all those people to Yang's event. And like it's really cool. Like I think it was like the coolest, funnest thing ever to go around like live streaming all of Yang's events. And I remember I just got to this point where I missed Yang-a-Palooza because Zach didn't want to go, and I was like, well, I don't want to go all the way out to Iowa. And like at the time I didn't know that many people in the Yang gang still, like, so I wasn't comfortable like with people, like, you know, it's still a lot of strangers and stuff, whereas now I know a lot of these people. But I remember just seeing all the clips from that, and I decided like I'm never missing like this stuff again. Like I just want to go to all the events. And then I just did. Like I remember I went to Yang's bus tour, his first bus tour in Iowa in early December. And I literally made the decision to go like less than 24 hours before I took my flight to end up Chicago. And then Fred picked me up in his truck and drove together. We drove to Iowa. And it was just because like it was just one of those things. It's like you're sitting there at like 3 a.m. and you're like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I want to freaking be there. I want to be in the thick of it. I don't want to miss out anymore.
I mean, and frankly, that's the benefit of your youth. If you're not like tied down, you have all the freedom in the world to do that documentation.
Yeah, and that's like another thing. Like I talked to my dad about it. Because I remember coming off the campaign, it was kind of hard to like get back into a normal routine. So I would like flip my life around for at least like 6 months, and then COVID hit and we went on lockdown, and like so it was just so hard to get back in a rhythm. And I was like having a little trouble with it, to be honest. I remember talking to my dad, and he's like, "But that, you know, like Matt, that was like a once in a lifetime experience. Like you wouldn't trade that for like anything." Like, and it's true. Like, it really was like I don't want to sound like weird because, you know, I'm so young, and I also don't like talking this way in general. I don't know. But basically, it really was like the honor of my life to cover Andrew Yang's campaign. And I hope to do it again if he runs again, you know?
Yeah, no, I certainly feel you on that. And I am very appreciative of your fact that you did that journey, because the point you said before of how you got to bring an extra 100 people on the streams or more just from general viewership seeing the events, I'm certainly one of those. So I'm very thankful that you helped us to get to see more content of that. I'd love to ask you, you know, as you got to go to so many of the events, did you have any particular ones that you thought were your favorite events from the trail?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting question, because my answer for what I think Yang's best event of his entire campaign is not an event that I actually attended. I think it was his LA rally in late September. I think that was his biggest crowd that he had. I think it was his most energetic crowd. I think you saw Yang really feed off the passion and energy of the crowd, and you got to see him in just like this true raw form. Remember, that was the first time that he said, "If Donald Trump's the Rock, if Donald Trump says I'm the effing Rock." And like it was just so pumped up, so much energy. We were still like at that point, I think we had like just narrowly like started like making debates. It felt like the momentum was just on our side, and we were so young and so naive. That was the key thing. We were so naive, like looking back on it, like to think like I don't know. We just were inexperienced then, and like knowing what we had to go through later and how hard it would get. Like there were so many great moments on the campaign, but it felt like just that almost like youthful energy that we had was hard hard to beat at that one event. I say personally, the best event like that I went to, so many. To me, like I don't know if there was ever like a real favorite like event that I had to. There was just like a lot that stuck out to me, and one that sticks out to me in particular is when Andrew had an event in like a really rural part of Iowa, and he was actually at a Trump bar. Like we got in there, and it's like a bunch of guys that look exactly what you think the stereotypical like Iowan farmer Trump supporter would look like, all just sitting there like drinking like beers. They recognize like Andrew Yang, and they start like heckling him, and they're all drunk. And Yang has this, it's a very small, like intimate crowd, only like 15, 20 people. And Yang's trying to do a stump speech, and they're like interrupting. And I remember I was filming Yang's thing, and the internet connection was already spotty, and I want my audience to be able to hear. So I went over and decided to start talking. I left the camera and I went over and decided to start talking to the guy who was like the loudest, and with the goal of basically just trying to distract him so he'd be quiet, like for just everybody who was there, both in person and digitally. And I don't know, I ended up just talking to the guy for like 30 minutes, and it was so interesting because he's so, you can just tell he's like so mad and so like angry at the world. Like it's hard to get him to like talk and open up a bit, but as he does, you can just tell like he feels like nobody in Washington like has done anything for him ever, and you can just tell like he's suffering like mentally, financially, spiritually. Like he's someone who really just works all day at this farm that isn't even making money, and then afterwards he goes and drinks at like this bar and like feels miserable. And I don't know, it's interesting having those like real conversations with like voters like that, you know, that's something that doesn't happen online. And I don't know, that I still remember it to this day. Like just like those are to me, those are like the type of people that vote like, well, they aren't that guy voted for Donald Trump, he's gonna vote for Trump again. Like just trying to get like inside the mind of like, especially with like, we're filming this the day after the debate, like especially just like with Trump, such like piss poor, like terrible way he acted in last night's debate. Like, and people still go like, how can somebody vote for this guy? It's because there's people out there that are like so desperate and feel so downtrodden that they're almost willing to believe like anything someone says, as long as they feel like that person's fighting for them, even if it's not true. So I don't know, it's just interesting to me.
Thank you so much for watching today's episode of The Hill of Roses. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you did, please let us know by subscribing to our channel, liking today's video, and sharing the video with your friends. Also, if you want to be notified, please make sure you hit the bell when you subscribe. Finally, if you want to find more of our network's content, please go to thehillofroses.com. With that being said, we love y'all for helping the movement grow, and we hope you're staying rosy out there.